All good? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So the good thing about having shared so much food yesterday is that we don't need, you don't need to understand who I am. And I still paid the bill yesterday, right? So good morning to you all, and good morning to everyone who is following us live on stream. Hi. And welcome to FTS Festival 2021, Block.IS Day. So we're very proud to be partner of this project. It has been a kind of a long journey of mentoring, events, dealing with bureaucracy, isn't it? You're going to talk about this as well. And here we are as a part of our contribution as FTS to give visibility to the people who made this project happen. So this is for the people who are not here. This is day 3 of the FTS Festival. We started on Wednesday with an opening plenary that is still actually available, that was recorded, but basically had the most reputable faces of the fintech industry. In the afternoon, we had the Accenture Fintech Forum. Yesterday afternoon, live stream the Deloitte Fintech Talks. And today is Block.IS Day. I am by far the least suitable person to talk about the project. So I'm going to call someone who is. Ladies and gentlemen, António Damasceno, o meu amigo português, will tell you all about where we are in this journey. António, the stage is yours. And I'm going to give you the mic. Here we go.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope I will not take too long of your time. I was planning for half an hour, but Francesca said that it was too much. So welcome to our day at Block.IS, and I will try to explain what Block.IS is in just a few words. So Block.IS is an accelerator funded by the European Commission with 5 million euros, and our goal is to support SMEs in the development of new products based on blockchain in 3 sectors: finance, logistics, and agri-food. Our goal was to deliver almost 3 million euros in direct funding, and we did it. We are a few months from delivering all that money. And another goal of the project was to deliver close to 1 million euros in services, and we actually managed to deliver 1.5 million euros in services, which is very good for us. And how was the project started? I don't need it, thank you. One slide. So we had the concept of engaging with clusters, and clusters were the key driver to reach out to SMEs. So this is still a cluster-driven project, and disseminate among clusters, the ones on our consortium and the ones that joined, best practices, how clusters can support innovation among SMEs. We were quite successful in these terms. We were organizing cluster missions. This is the first one of the final batch. In the first batch, we focused on dissemination of the project, attracting SMEs to our calls. And indeed, it was successful because a number of SMEs that participated in the cluster were selected and reached out the final phases of the first acceleration program. And the last missions, so we had a gap because of COVID. So the last 4 missions, starting with this one, are focused on disseminating project results. So now We will speak in this mission in Valencia, Reisenburg, and the final mission in Brussels on the success of the project. So what is it that our SMEs were able to deliver? You will hear from them, not from me, because they will pitch in front of you. In any case, we have KPIs for this, and we met all the KPIs in relation with SMEs engagement and cluster engagement, but because of COVID, there are still some gaps. In terms of acceleration program, the acceleration program had two streams, one on technical support and another on business support. So on technical support, we delivered 7 blockchain enablers, and the goal was to allow these SMEs to bootstrap their solutions, and if needed, they could be used in production. I don't think that any of them, or only a few, used it for production, but in any case, they were used to bootstrap the solutions, and the feedback that we got from these SMEs is that it really guided them in the correct direction, and then they evolved their products. We had goals to deliver a certain number of products to the market. We were checking yesterday. I think we have doubled our goal in terms of jobs, in terms of deals, and in terms of funding attracted by SMEs. So all those goals were met, and we are very proud of it. Additionally, the biggest effort on the project from the beginning was on dissemination. Okay? We needed to attract key stakeholders for our project, and with the help of Innocence, we have worldwide coverage in all our media platforms, so from the website, social media, whatever. We were able to attract applicants from almost all countries in Horizon Europe, H2020 countries and associated countries, so big success there. And another key objective that we achieved is that the funding is evenly distributed across Europe. Of course, there are some traditional bias towards the south of Europe, but that's normal in any program. In any case, we have an even distribution. And the final part that I wanted to talk about is blockchain is all about trust between people that don't know each other, okay? And also on this part, I think we were quite successful. So in the consortium, we all trusted each other, okay? We were able to support each other when issues occurred, such as people leaving and new colleagues coming in. We were actually quite happy for one person that left the project, okay? Because she delivered a baby and she was not able to work with us, so it was a very good reason to leave. But we tried to engage with our SMEs and let them know that we are here to support them, okay? We always try to give all our best efforts, remove all the hurdles, remove the bureaucracy as much as possible. We still need some bureaucracy. This is a European funded project, so bureaucracy is needed. But we were able to engage with our teams. We were able to support them when COVID came, try to identify the issues that they had and help them overcome those issues. We even supported some SMEs in hiring developers because they were extremely needed. So this network was, I think, very useful for all of us. We learned a lot. We tried to give our best to our teams. And I think I need to thank everyone for their effort, the SMEs that work with us, but also to the consortium. Big thanks to all, and a round of applause. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. That's okay. I don't think you need to. Did you touch it?
I don't know.
Is it working? Don't do anything? Good, great, perfect. Okay, let's move on with the first keynote of the day. And I would like to welcome Demetrio Migliorati. He has been one of the mentors of the Block.IS program. He's, we can say it, you know, he's one of the pillars of Banca Mediolanum, which is a nice way to be that he's being there as long as the CEO, probably, just after him. But it's a great honor to have Demetrio with us. Please join me in welcoming Demetrio.
Good morning, everybody. It's fantastic to be here with you again in presence. It's a wonderful sensation, and I'm enjoying it. Unfortunately, I'm the dark side of the blockchain because I'm working for a bank, and it's something completely unusual, I would say. But I can say that mostly we are not working for blockchain. We are using what I normally call a private permission distributed ledger. And that is what I've been asked to talk about, because there is a project in Italy that is called Spunta. Spunta, the Spunta project. Anybody here has already an idea what is the Spunta project? Raise your hand. 2, fantastic. So all the others will learn in a while what is the Spunta project. So Italy is the blockchain country. You will see that we are incredibly advanced on this topic because we have many professionals that are doing a very good job in this area, beside me. Because I'm working with PPDLT. And who am I? I'm working for the banking group of Mediolanum as innovation. And I'm also the founder of a startup studio here in Milan, and all dedicated to blockchain and AI. And then I have a passion for dissemination, so I normally take the chance to do something with university and people. I'm following Deming, so without data, you're just another guy with an opinion. So let's start from one parallel that's why banks are using this kind of stuff. Why banks are so interested in blockchain. This is an analysis that has been done by Deutsche Bank. The parallel is from the internet users from the very beginning, and the wallets from the very beginning. And you will see that it's supposed to follow the same pattern. So we actually are living in the peer-to-peer moving of values between people, the same kind of transformation that we had at the mid of the 90s with the peer-to-peer communication and peer-to-peer exchanging of content. No, because I remember I'm going a little bit forward. I remember this kind of internet. No, this was the internet that we are using at the mid of the 90s. No, actually I was using not Mosaic. I'm a boomer, like you see. No, so I was not using Mosaic. I was using Gopher even before Mosaic. But we were used to just, you know, seeing a screen in which there was a page of content. You click in there, you go in another page. It was an hypertext. So that was the initial idea, no? To give the possibility to people to access content coming from another source, no? In those days, you want to read a newspaper, you go in a specific place to buy those newspapers, only those. You want to see a movie, only those movies. You can choose, no? You can choose. In those periods, there were the intermediaries of the content. And so the parallel is this, and that's why banking are so interested, banking institutions are so interested in this stuff. Because as we began with text, moving to all the kind of content, and now everything that is related to businesses, related to content is connected to that. The same is with blockchain. We began with the easiest part, the token who was representing the money. Then we learned that we can establish some more complex kind of contract between us, and we began to talk about smart contracts. Then we learned that the tokens can be whatever kind of token you have in mind. So you can describe the value of whatever and begin to establish logic to exchange whatever. So at the end, we will have a world in which all kinds of businesses that are related to exchanges values between people, they will have to deal with some kind of blockchain. Maybe the Roberto's one. I hope so. I hope so. So that's why. And to laugh a while about the people that say blockchain is not going to work, it's a shitty stuff, all this kind of stuff that we were used to see. I have few newspapers of the 90s in which people, unfortunately they are in Italian, but there are stuff like, mutually says, internet helps the drug dealers. And the bank with internet, no, only with the normal distribution. Internet is a flop. Here is the alternative. This is the newspaper of the mid of the 90s. The same kind of attack that we see right now in blockchain. And I was laughing a lot. Internet, it's already declined. I mean, mid of the 90s, 5 million of websites already there. So I'm really laughing at that because I already was living that. So when I see these on blockchain, I see, okay, it's the same kind of stuff. It's the same kind of stuff. The momentum is very high. I have few data that are coming from the Polytechnic of Milan. So we see an increasing number of projects in different areas, but most of the technical infrastructure we're going to use, most of them are not blockchain. Most of them are private permission distributed ledgers. And why? Because most of them are created by finance, and we are living in a regulated area, in a regulated world. And the first rule that we have is that we have perfectly to know to whom we are connected to and with whom we are exchanging value. So the concept of KYC, KYT, whatever kind of KY, is something that is extremely strong in all the rulement that we are following. Italy is incredibly, I would say, I insist, incredibly, one of the most advanced country creating projects and stuff in this area. It's beautiful because as an Italian, I'm really proud of that. It's incredible because normally Italy is not associated with an advanced technology, normally. Maybe a very good cuisine, but advanced technology a little less. And that's why I say normally Italy in Europe is the blockchain country. So let's go back to the theme, speaking about Spunt. Well, banking is a very complex stuff. To communicate between two institutions in banking, normally it requires, this is a target 2 schema. It requires rules in terms of the time frame in which you work, what happens at the beginning of and at the end of the time frame, the kind of exchange between the different areas, and a number of very strict rules to create this kind of stuff. Normally it's based on messages following from one source to the other source, messages and reconciliations. So messages, elaboration of the messages, creating an internal registry of an internal ledger of everything, and then reconciliation. This is a complex stuff, and historically it takes a number of people dedicated to reconcile all the stuff that is not going good. No, because it happens. because each single bank has his own system. There is not a unique system to elaborate all these kind of messages. Each bank has his own system, at least had. So when a bank sees that a real blockchain has the same, or allegedly the identical ledger in each node, each dedicated node to maintain the ledger, that is a very interesting stuff, because it gives the possibility to a bank to create a system that has a common way to build the logic on the ledger. Instead of having 1,000 of different information systems elaborating the messages, that is a solution to have the same system in place for each node dedicated to maintaining the ledger. But there is a problem, because this is public. And when I say public, it's everybody can see what there is inside. So even if it's not clear, immediately clear, because it's encrypted, but you can number, the number of transactions, you can count them, You can see from which node is arriving to which node is arriving, so you can sniff the business of the others. So there is an alternative. The alternative is a kind of structure in which there is a concept that is called segregation. This is the example. This is how it works. It's a very high-level example, but it's how it works. Corda. Corda is one of these private permission distributed ledgers that we're using. When you create a transaction from Bank A to Bank B, you send the proposal to the Bank B, inspect and verify the transaction, send back the transaction signed to the original bank. And then there is what we are used to use in a bank, a notary cluster, somebody that is verifying. It doesn't know anything about what is internally the transaction. It's just verify the protocols. And then is the notary that closed the transaction. I mean, the commit on the distributed database is done after the last sign of the transaction by the notary. In this situation, the other banks participating to the network, they don't see nothing. They don't even know that there was a transaction in place. And that is what a bank loves, because nobody can sniff the business. So we can use a distributed ledger in which each bank has a proper version of the ledger with all the registration that we need, but without having the risk, without running the risk that others can sniff our businesses. And so, based on that, we began to work together, and we created, unfortunately, from a communication point of view, there is an error here. It's not a blockchain, but we admit we used the term blockchain to emphasize the fact that we are working with a new perspective, with a new technology. Everybody should be aware that we know that it's not a blockchain, but we use the term blockchain in order to expose ourselves to a certain kind of contribution from the community. So we worked together. That is the first step. 17 banks collect together and created a sort of consortium. There is an association of the Italian banks that is called ABI, Italian Banking Association. Within this association, there is an element of the association that is dedicated to the technical part of our work, and it's called ABI Lab, the laboratory of Italian Banking Association. Within this institution, we worked together, 17 banks at the beginning, 18 after a while, and we designed it, starting from the process of reconciliation. Did you remember before? All these kind of messages sent from one bank to the other, all these rules connected to the time limits, to the time frame of the communication. There are errors. Sometimes there are errors. Few cents, €1, €10, depends, few errors. And all these errors are collected in a ledger, in a specific ledger that we call transitory ledger. There are many of them, hundreds of them within a bank. And there are a group of people, a lot of people. In the procedure is aged, the first rule was defined between Italian banks in 1979. And the logic is that each bank has a co-owned ledger with another bank. So Roberto is a bank, Demetrio is a bank, we have a common ledger. So for 1 year, I reconcile that ledger, so I have the duty to reconcile that ledger. Then after a couple of years, he has the duty of reconcile the ledger. So every 2 years, we change who is in charge of the reconciliation. So we distribute also the fact that we have to reconcile. This has been done for years, for decades, until this new process. We completely redesigned the procedure in a way that, leveraging the fact that we have, at this point, common ledgers that are containing all the operations that are related to me and Roberto, for instance, but it's the same one, so nobody has to reconcile it. Because they say it's the same one. What is inside is exactly what happened. And that creates a certain kind of momentum, because this is the first step of a common infrastructure for the bank. A common technical infrastructure in which to build logics that are common for all the banks. So instead of having we have 100 banks in Italy. Instead of having 100 different procedures to do the same stuff, now we have one only procedure, common to everybody, to all the banks. So whenever we want to increase the number of functionality, whenever we want to change the functionality, we change in one place, and all the banking sector is benefiting of the new structure. So that's why we are interested in proceeding, increasing the number of functionality that this kind of stuff has. So we are already thinking to do new use cases, introducing other kind of logics, and leveraging on this technology, creating new value for the customers. It's a very complex structure, because as you can see, we are a regulated area. So we work together, but within a very strict regulated sector. So the system has been delivered with a governance model that is very complex. There are 7 different layers on the governance models, that is starting from the business network, so the kind of business case that you want to solve, arriving to the platform. So this is the most technical part, that is the most application part, correlated to the kind of business you want to deal. And in our solution, there are the 18 initial groups that are covering 78% of the market. Then all the others were arriving. And this group is, how can I say, the promotion, the one that are in charge of most of the governance steps. Then there is the business network governor, that is the ABI itself, with a structure that we have called the ABI Lab chain, even if it's not a blockchain, but it's a chain. The business network designer, who is in charge of creating the stuff, creating the core apps, maintaining the software that is inside, is entity data. The business network operator, where we are placing the servers that are, in which there are the nodes. It's SIA. SIA, as you know, is one of the largest European operator in the network area. Historically, was serving the banks. Historically, was a banking entity. And R3 with Corda is the platform that we are using. There is a complex contract and relationship stuff between us. Of course, we are banks. We are complex. There is no way to make it simple. And but the good point is that now we have a business network that is correlated to Spunta. Spunta is the first project that is in place. but we are already studying a number of new business networks correlated to other projects. So this will be the new infrastructure in which the Italian banks will work together in an environment that is very similar to a blockchain. Actually is not, but is very similar to a blockchain. And this is giving a new impulse to creating new services and to share the cost of increasing servicing for our customer. And now we are definitely in production with everything. More than 100, and actually a little less of 100 banks are working together, and this is unique. Italy is the only country in the world in which the entire banking sector is working together already with an infrastructure of this kind. That makes Italy the blockchain country. And this is it. There is a documentation about that. There is a case study that has been delivered by R3, and you can easily find it on the internet. But if you just send me a note, I will send you directly.
Thank you, Demetrio. Thank you very much. Guys, for once that Italy manages to put together so many banks to do the same thing, it is worth celebrating, So let's go now and listen to some of the startups that took part of the project. We have now 4 pitches, each one like 5 or 6 minutes. And afterwards, we'll have the opportunity to ask them questions for 10 to 15 minutes. And the first pitch is Marco from Volvero.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. So let me see where we are with the presentation. Okay, here we are. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. It's a great pleasure to show you what we are doing at Volvero and also what happened in our recent past, thanks also to the support of Block.IS. So I am Marco Filippi, CEO and founder of Volvero, and Volvero is an app for connecting owners of vehicles with a community of drivers. We were born 2.5 years ago, to solve a problem that is happening in the mobility and transportation industry. And I'm referring to the fact that for most of their lifetime, cars and vehicles are not used and idles on the street. Of course, this is causing a lot of troubles, both in terms of a waste of natural resources that are used for producing assets that are not used, but also, of course, is generating problems in terms of occupancy in the streets or waste of spaces in parking spots or in the streets as well. And all of this is happening while millions of people all over the world are not able to find an optimal solution for their mobility needs. Indeed, if you think of car rental or car sharing or public transport, they are simply not effective or too expensive or not reliable. So as said, our solution is Volvero, an app in which owners of different kinds of vehicles can connect with a community of drivers in order to share vehicles for 1 day or longer. We are live right now in Italy. We are doing a private beta, but we are soon to be live in the first area of Italy, which is Veneto area. But we also are planning to grow on an international scale. There is a huge opportunity in the market of mobility and transportation, especially in Europe, because in a different way than what Demetrio just said, that in Italy we have a sort of unicity of players and key ecosystem. In Europe, there is a huge fragmentation in the market of the insurance products, for instance, or also in the regulations and laws that allow or do not allow a car sharing industry. But we were able to solve this problem thanks to our partners. So we are dealing with Europe Assistance for providing an insurance that covers all of the kind of vehicles that are shared on our platform. So this is something that really required us a lot of effort, and it took us 2 years to develop. So right now, when someone is sharing their own car or motorcycle in the app, we are able to provide a comprehensive coverage. And since our partner has offices in many countries all over the world, we are already talking with different cities and municipalities also outside of Italy, because we are able to deploy faster our solution than our competitors. And the second distinctive point of our business model is the technology. We already have 3 patents that are filed based on how we deliver the solution, and also based on the technology that we are using. So we are here today because, of course, we are building on a blockchain architecture. And as Spunta, we are using Corda blockchain for a certain set of reasons, like increasing the trustability in the model, lowering asymmetric information among owners and drivers, and also create some innovation in the insurance world, because we are starting to design smart contracts for coverage, for the coverage of vehicles and drivers based on real-time conditions, and also based on the previous history of drivers while using the app. Who are our users? So from a driver's perspective, we are targeting mostly university student, young professional, expats, so all those kind of people that do not have a car or a vehicle available because are keep moving, or simply are too young for having one, or not interested in having one. And from the ownership side, we started as a peer-to-peer business, but we are right now targeting also the B2C market. So this was a pivot that we did in the last 1.5 years. So we have car dealers and car rentals offering vehicles. We are dealing with some of the biggest car dealers in Italy, while the peer-to-peer space still needs to grow, and it needs a bit of time because, of course, there is also a change in the habit of people. What we are doing now, as said, we are rolling out the app in the first cities in northern Italy, Padua, Verona, and Treviso area, so on the other side of northern Italy, respect where we are today. But as said, we are already planning for an international expansion. We are going to be in Chile for a couple of months, thanks to the support of Chilean government. So we will try to see if there is the condition for pushing out the app. But also we are in touch with the municipality of Lisbon, so it's great to see so many Portuguese friends here today, because we are aiming for a pilot in the first quarter of 2022 in Lisbon, and in other 3 countries during the coming year. So who are our partners? Of course, thank you so much to Block.IS. We had the possibility to really move from an early stage or idea stage to having a fully developed app that is leveraging on blockchain. So Block.IS was really super helpful because it didn't just come with money, that is very relevant, but also with expertise and the tech experts. That is something that usually it's very difficult to find in the ecosystem or in other accelerators. We got some investment from the European Institute of Technology, Climate Kick, Urban Mobility, Impact Hub Milano. Here it's an accelerator, it's our investor. So right now the business is growing, we are kind of happy, and we are still working on all of the things that we have to do the next year. And of course, harmony in legislation, regulation, and in the insurance domain is something that we really need to nurture, because without harmony and a sort of unique playground in the European ecosystem, it will be impossible to keep growing and innovate at the same speed as the United States is doing. So that's it from my side. I have a small appendix, but this is more for the probably Q&A, so why blockchain? And I think that the Q&A, Matteo, is after the 4 pitches?
I just changed my mind.
Okay, so right now.
Exactly, because I thought that it would be complicated to sort of remembering the questions in the pitch. So let's do right now a couple of questions. Since I knew that I could count on Robbie. Can someone give me a mic? Thank you. Thank you, Renata.
You have the other one, right?
Yes.
Hey, hi. Honestly, I don't understand what you I understood a lot of partner things, insurance. I don't understand if you sell insurance, if it's like a BlaBlaCar alternative, if it's like a, I don't know, multi-property of a car between people. I didn't get it, sorry. Maybe it's so obvious for you, but it's not for me.
Okay, yes, so sure. So Volvero is an app in which owners, different kind of owners, car dealers, car rentals, corporates, or private owners, can put their vehicles available for the community when someone needs to rent a car or another type of vehicle for
It's the
1 day
Airbnb
or
of
more.
personal cars.
Okay, all right. Okay.
It's more clear now?
So I stay away, my car can be rented, but I stay away, my car can be rented by other people when I'm not using it, or even for a portion of the day or something like this. Why BlaBlaCar is for long trip where the owner drives his own car and transport people Uber style, that's correct? So,
Yeah,
okay.
you got it.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
I have a question about the pricing policy, because you haven't said nothing about that. So how much it's going to cost to rent a car for, let's say, a couple hours? Or
She's asking how is he making money?
Yeah, exactly.
No, because nobody can hear you. Closer. Put the, no,
Yeah,
it's,
maybe? Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yes, so the question was how much it's going to cost for the user and how you're going to make money as a company.
Yeah, so we are retaining a percentage on each transaction. So every time that someone is sharing their own vehicle with someone else, we are taking a cut on it. The average price for a standard vehicle is of 45 euros per day, and the minimum rental period is of 1 day.
question.
Ciao. Can you hear me? Sì. Look, I'm Sebastiano Toffaletti. I'm work for the European Digital SME Alliance. We are a partner in Block.IS, as you may know. The question I have is, you probably have, I'm sure you have analyzed the market, you know your competitors, right? And I was just curious if you can share a little bit, how is the market for your type of services, and what is really, where do you think you're different? What is your added value? Why do you think users will find it better to work with, to use you other than other competitors?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for this. So the market is pretty fragmented because, as said during the presentation, there are some very bold differences among European countries. So it's very difficult for a solution like Volvero to scale at international level, because every time you are scaling, you need to deal with a country that comes with a totally different insurance world, for instance, or a totally different ecosystem in terms of law and regulation. So there are some competitors in Europe. Most of them are local players because, as said, it's very difficult to scale. In the United States, there are two pretty big companies that are already billion-dollar companies, so unicorn. But even for them, it's a problem entering Europe because of this fragmentation. So it's not like cost-effective for them, and they are still preferring to develop the market in the United States. We are different because our partner, it's Europe Assistance, so we are able to deploy faster our solution in other countries other than Italy, okay? So if we want to be live in Spain, let's say Spain just for an example, in just 8 weeks, we are able to be live in that country. While for our competitors, they need to start again to create relationships and connection in a different country, since they are mostly playing with local players in terms of insurance partners, and it takes much longer for them to being able to deploy the solution.
One last question, if there is one. Facciamo una follow-up question, se vuoi.
After.
We can speak later on.
No, scusa.
Fai bene. Vai.
Hi. So, for the scaling, you said that the biggest problem is the insurance. Have you considered, for example, like different companies other than Europe assistance, for example, like rentalcover.com that actually provides worldwide coverage? I have used it as a separate service from rental agencies and so on, which could be a good partner in a way to provide this on a larger scale, because they are actually reinventing the insurance as it is, while to me it seemed a little bit as a very conservative approach to take one of the well-established, of course, players like Europe Assistance, but probably that are not taking the insurance on the same level as the others.
Yeah, fair question. So we are aware that there are some companies that are delivering global insurance, for instance, and that's okay for the B2C side, where you are when you are dealing with car dealers or car rentals that are doing the rental service. The problem and the big problem here is when it comes to peer-to-peer sharing, because peer-to-peer is lies on a gray area in which in most of the countries you don't really understand what is allowed and what's not allowed, and this also is causing a lot of insecurity for the insurance provider in order to support these kind of projects. So that's why for us, this is a striking advantage, because through the Europe Assistance Partnership, we created for the first time a very unique insurance policy that is part of our IP that offer coverage for this kind of service. So it's a really tricky environment, because there are so many possibilities, so many players in the ecosystem, so many different laws and regulation, that it's really complex to scale to another country, as said. But thank you for the question. I think we are done with the time, right? So thank you.
I am the moderator, but you're right. We're out of time. Thank you. Bravo, Marco. Okay, next one. Chiara Casoni García from Gataca. Let's see if your presentation is there. That's backward.
That's back. No, that's next.
No, you're right. There we go.
Yes. So hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. My name is Chiara. I am part of the team at Gataca.
Do you hear Chiara in the back?
Yes?
Yes?
Perfect. So first of all, thank you to Matteo for inviting us here and for being our mentor. He has been our mentor for the Block.IS, there you go, for the Block.IS program. To tell you a little bit more about Gataca, we're an MIT-born cybersecurity company that builds decentralized digital identity technology. That's commonly known nowadays as self-sovereign identity technology, or SSI. Don't know if you have heard about this before, but by the end of this presentation, hopefully you understand what we're talking about. So let me take a step back and put you guys in a situation. Imagine you wake up, you check your phone, you check your bank account, and you see 10 transactions, none of which you executed. I'm sorry, but you've been hacked. And don't think this will not happen to you, because 1 in 4 transactions are fraudulent. Identity fraud is the largest and fastest growing type of cybersecurity attack, and it's become a threat to the digitalization of the global economy. Business transactions rely upon trust to ensure its success. But ensuring this trust has become increasingly difficult for governments and businesses alike. So what's behind all of this frustration, both user frustration and business frustration? It's current authentication systems. They require users on one hand to store multiple usernames, multiple passwords insecurely, and at the same time go through tedious onboarding processes. On the other hand, it has businesses storing all of this sensitive information in their databases, becoming honeypots for hackers. And all the while, they're spending millions of euros in GDPR and KYC compliance that are not working effectively on their infrastructure. So for the first time, we have a new way of managing your personal information. And that's due to decentralized technologies that provide one single identity across all your digital services worldwide. Of course, that may sound a little bit too good to be true, but the European Commission has recently announced a new proposal for a European digital identity. The best part is that it will be mandatory for businesses to accept it as an authentication method and mandatory for governments to issue it to all of its citizens. So who are the pioneers right now? Right now we have governments and universities deploying this technology, piloting this technology across all of Europe. Germany has already set collaborations and agreements with Spain, Finland, and Netherlands for the development of SSI technology across all of Europe and trans-border, cross-border use cases. So where's Gataca now? In just 2 years, we have built a comprehensive SSI technology product that has tools for issuers, those who issue you your credentials, for users, so you can store your credentials, and for service providers so they can authenticate you online. We have closed a contract with a European national entity where they're deploying our technology with the possibility of integrating it at a national scale. We're working with a European university consortia led from Belgium that gives service to over 400,000 students to deploy the academic diploma use case. We're also working in the early adopters program with the Spanish group, working with the Royal Mint of Spain and 3 Spanish universities, integrating our technology into their infrastructure. And finally, we're working with the European Commission itself as a domain expert, helping them define the SSI principles, both regulatorily and technologically, across all of Europe. So how does this work? Gataca empowers users with a mobile ID wallet and verified credentials so they could have instant, passwordless, and government-grade secure authentication into digital services. These identity credentials can be your COVID Green Pass, an academic diploma, your driver's license, or even an employee card. These are digitized, cryptographically signed by trusted authorities that are issuing them. Users then store these securely in their mobile ID wallet that we power them with, and then they can share them instantly with any service provider. And the best part is that they can control at any time who has access to them and revoke access to their data to these service providers. So they're finally in control of their personal information. But our platform is not only an ID wallet. We have a tool for trusted authorities so they can issue these verified credentials. We also have a tool for the service providers so they can authenticate their users in a single sign-on authentication method, instant, passwordless, and government-grade secure, as previously mentioned. So the possibilities of SSI are unlimited. Everyone needs to log in online to access all of their digital services. It can be from banking to DeFi to healthcare, travel, real estate, corporations. So the possibilities are unlimited. And that's why governments and businesses are betting on this already. The analysts predict that by 2026, the global market for decentralized digital identity will be worth over $9 billion. And that's with an 80% compound annual growth rate. So where are we now and why choose Gataca? We've been working on this for the past 3 years. We're the first blockchain agnostic, full stack, market-ready technology ready to be deployed on any client's infrastructure tomorrow. We're also the only wallet in Europe that's integrated with DecBc, the European blockchain network. At Gataca, we believe in a future where your identity is yours and where your data is secure. And that future has arrived. Thank you.
Brava Chiara.
Grazie.
Questions? Huh?
No.
I need a mic here. What is my, not yours mic? Did I have it? Ah, okay. Renata, where are you going? Oh, because there is a question there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm working also in SSI, so I'm deeply interested. Maybe we could partner. I'd like to know what kind of authentication are you using to enter inside the app?
Authentication?
Yeah.
We use biometrics.
Biometrics, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A couple of questions.
Yes.
First, we have seen in the past a number of applications of this kind, and none of them has reached
Mass adoption.
a mass adoption or a decent number of them. What makes this absolutely unique so you think that really will have a mass adoption?
So we have seen a lot of different types of competitors, but the SSI industry particularly doesn't have that many mature players just yet. So where we see ourselves as one step further is the fact that we have 3 years working on this and we're blockchain agnostic, so our clients, our partners do not have to experience vendor lock-in. We promote interoperability on another level. So we're actually already leading initiatives on a European level for the interoperability of our wallet with our competitors' wallets, with our clients' wallets. Aside from that, just 2 months ago, the European Commission announced, as previously mentioned, that it will be mandatory for all governments to issue a digital identity, so a mobile ID wallet to its citizens. And this is based on SSI principles because they want their citizens, their users, to be in control of their information. So I guess aside from that, we have the full stack platform. We're ready to be implemented tomorrow, but we have a solution for all stakeholders. We have a solution for the trusted authorities, so they can issue your academic credential, your passport, your driver's license, which is necessary because we have a follow-through product. Once this is issued, it goes directly into your wallet. And this wallet is securely stored where your user controls all of that information. But then what do you do with that? You use it to authenticate into different services. So we have the full stack platform that it goes into a loop so you're not missing any part of the process.
Do you know what is speed?
Speed.
In Italy, the Italian government give the digital identity to their citizens, and during the pandemic, due to the fact that the only way to get inside this kind was this digital identity, we now have, I think, 40 million of the Italians that have a speed digital identity. And now it's going to be the only way to get inside every kind of service coming from the public administration. And we are now allowed as banks as identify all the customers with the speed. And speed is complying with the DecBc structure. It's going to be compliant, not yet fully, but it's going to be compliant. That is a mass number of customers that you can have. So the integration with speed is absolutely strategic in Italy.
Yes, of course, and so
you have to know what is speed.
We're not trying to become the only provider across all of Europe. We know different governments will choose different providers, and that's exactly why we're betting for interoperability. So we're betting to avoid vendor lock-in because that's not a real situation. A user should be able to choose, and a business should be able to choose what provider they go with, and that's just that natural evolution of things.
That is the third question that I'm stopping. but it can be used for you. We did a project like this with the university here, and the most complex stuff was to certify the information, because a certain number of institutions that are regulated like us cannot accept information that are not certified to the same level of compliance that we have.
Yes, so there's different levels of assurance for each verified credential. And of course, it depends on the authority that's issuing these credentials. And that's why we have the platform for the government, for the university, which we're already working with.
For the banks.
But for the banks comes after the governments. So first you need the governments to get on board and to issue these credentials and to approve this type of technology for banks. And then banks follow along.
All right. Thank you.
Looks like you gain yourself another mentor here. So, no, okay, so there are, wait a second, so Marco, the gentleman over there, so we have like an hour and a half over lunch, you know, like, because otherwise this discussion can, and we have actually speakers that are sort of limited in time. So I have to, thank you, Chiara, to start with, bravo. Thank you. Thank you. And let me call the next speaker, Guruprasad from b-cube.ai. Your family name is going to be a bit complicated, so Guruprasad is enough, right? Please, pardon me.
My first name is also very complicated.
Oh, no, it's okay, so I did it right. Perfect. Big round of applause.
Can you hear me? Everybody at the back.
Put it really close like this. Don't touch anything.
Like this.
Perfect. Imagine you're singing.
Okay, probably I'm the only crypto guy here. So if you have any questions, we can definitely discuss. So good morning, everyone. We are b-cube, the ultimate all-in-one AI-driven platform for crypto traders. We found very serious problems in the crypto industry. First of all, it's very volatile. It trades 24/7, and there is no proper regulations anywhere, and there is no transparency in this industry, which was leading to a lot of losses, a lot of Ponzi schemes, cheatings, and scams. So we came out with the solution. We use advanced AI technology, along with sentiment analysis and complex mathematical models, which we use to design our models. Based on these models, our bots are looking for a perfect trade on a 24/7 basis. And whenever the trade is there, it will execute in your own account. So we don't hold any custody of your funds. It's a completely non-custodian basis. We are going through DASP regulations in France. Once we get this license, we will be able to provide custodian services, brokerages, and several other things. And we also have a product which runs completely on smart contracts. All the profit sharing, everything gets divided by smart contracts. This is the first in the world, which I will speak a little later. So the total market size is 50 million, out of which 5 million of them trade on everyday basis, out of which we are targeting 25,000 users by Q4 2022. And our business model is based on subscription when it comes to centralized exchanges. It ranges between 99 euros to 249 euros a month. And then we have DEX trading bot, which is based on smart contracts. We don't take any entry fees. We don't take any exit fees, absolutely nothing. You will pay only when you make profits. If you don't make profits, you don't pay anything. And if you want to place your strategy on our marketplace, you can do it by paying 20 euros per month. And you can build your own bot using our AI ML technology also by paying 29 euros per month. This I will speak a little later. This is how our marketplace looks like, where you can see the list of available bots, their monthly pricing and performance and historical graphs. Whatever you are seeing on the left, on the gray side, is the backtesting results. Whatever you see on the right side is the real live trading results on the exchange. And a little bit more details customers can see, like what is the average returns, total returns, worst trade, bad trade, all the statistics they will be able to see to make a very good informed financial decisions. And this is the product that we built during the Block.IS program. It's a profit-sharing smart contract, which is the first in the world. The smart contracts have been audited by Mixed Bytes. What this does is very simple. It's a smart contract to which you will transfer the funds. It will be looking for a trade, and after every trade gets finished, automatically 80% of the profit will go to the customer, 20% will come to the b-cube wallet via smart contracts. And our traction since the beginning of this year, when we finished the Block.IS program, we have 8,700 registered users, 300,000 revenues so far. Our token, which we created quite recently, has gone up by 6x, beating the returns given by Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. We raised 2.7 million euros in a token sale that we conducted in May 30. And so far, the trading volumes have been $75 million on our platform. And our community is growing at a very faster pace, which is currently stands at 9,000. And when we joined the Block.IS program, our team was only 3. We have expanded to 8 in 1 year. And we'll be soon expanding it to 16 by another 8 months. So we have a very a structured team coming from my side. I have a startup background, which was successful, and I had an exit. Then I was a trader myself at Morgan Stanley. My partner is also a genius in AI. He's been doing that, and he's also a teacher in AI at Epita University. We have PhD candidates. We'll also be adding a compliance officer very soon. We have very good advisory team coming from Dr. Demetrio, who is the quantitative dean of University Paris-Saclay, which is regarded as the #1 in mathematics worldwide. We have Ajit Tripathi, who is our mentor and DeFi advisor, and blockchain legal advisor and business advisors. So it was really amazing for us to be in Block.IS, because not just for funds, we could meet very great people during the program. We could make friends, and we could help each other, because whenever we needed some kind of help or services, we could speak to other projects to get help, and it was vice versa always. Also, we didn't really had the plan to build a DEX trading bot. So Block.IS gave the motivation to use this as an opportunity to build that bot by using the funds that we got here. FTX Group, of course, has been very supportive. Especially Matteo spoke to us during one of the mentoring sessions. And second time during the commercialization stage, he was one of the jury, and he gave a very good feedback. And all the other 4 people could not really understand the crypto world, but he could understand. And that motivated us a lot going forward. And we also got opportunity to speak at Breaking Banks Europe. The title, I love that very much. It was very good for reaching out to many people, and we were contacted by some people also at the same time. So this is our ecosystem and partners, starting from University Paris-Saclay. We have several media partners, MantraDAO. We were also participated at CES, BPI Fonts, La French Tech, and so on and so forth. So we are having both offices in France as well as in Hungary. We have companies in both the countries. And that's it about our story. And I will be very happy to get your questions.
Thank you, Guruprasad. I know for sure you're not the only crypto guy of this crowd. You're at least 2 here, maybe 3. Questions?
But I
saw you nodding.
Okay, no, sure things. I am impressed and amazing, and I see you explain perfectly everything. It made total sense to me. The models for AI that are being created so are not shared, obviously, with outside people. Can use it on your premises upon a payment, right?
You mean where is it hosted?
Yeah, the models for the machine learning part, yeah. The model created.
Sure, we are using Herapu server. That is where we have hosted everything.
Okay. Right, but I have not much to say. Amazing.
Good. I saw you nodding a lot, so it looks like you liked it. Any more questions? There we go.
You decided to go for Ethereum environment. Did the growing the price influence somehow your business and how you're dealing with that? Because last year everything went up very much. So I guess also somehow the clients felt that in the pocket.
Clients do complain about Ethereum blockchain because the gas fees is very high. And one of the major use cases for our token is if they buy b-cube tokens and stake on our smart contracts, then they can use our bots for absolutely free of cost. This was our vision, to make efficient financial products available to as many people as possible. But I'm a firm believer of Ethereum. I love Ethereum very much, because for me, like, there are so many other blockchains, which is very fast and scaling right now, but they are not there where Ethereum is now. I mean, like, once they scale, they will be the same, probably. I might be wrong, but this is what I understand. But I don't think, like, we will be moving out from Ethereum or to any other scaling things. Despite all these things, the gas fees and everything, our token price has gone up by 7x since the launch, while Bitcoin crashed from 64 to 29, 30,000. And we still have a market capitalization of $16 million as of today.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bravo, Guruprasad. Good job. Thank you. Last speech of the day, Cristoforo Mione from Casval. Christoph.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us here today. So, yes, I'm another crypto guy. My name is Cristoforo Mione from Casval, and I'm starting with a question. Do you know that your money in your bank account has an actual negative interest, and it's literally self-destructing? So the reason for that is the saving accounts rate have fallen to 0, basically, and they go even negative if you take inflation into account. In order to get a 0.something annual return, you would need to lock them for maybe 6, 12 months or more. The problem is that in centralized finance, again, the rates are 0. The opportunity, on the other hand, is that in Ethereum decentralized finance, there are several lending protocols based on USD stablecoins that generate much higher returns, annual returns in the range of maybe 10%, even 15%. But there's no easy and simple way for European people, average Joe, you know, to leverage these opportunities. And there are two main reasons. One is, again, these opportunities are based on USD stablecoins. And the second is the hard truth that crypto is still very hard to use. So in terms of Euro-USD volatility, this has always happened and will always be. So a European user trying to exploit these opportunities on the Ethereum blockchain will risk to lose their money because of the Euro-USD volatility. And again, crypto is very hard to use. You need skills. You need to already be in crypto to leverage on the opportunity available there. So you need to manage your private keys, and when you lose the key, you lose all your money. And there's a plethora of new opportunities coming out every day with different risk, profile risk. So for the newcomer, it's nearly impossible to understand which one is the most suitable for him. That's why we decided to go to provide and create a solution for the non-crypto savvy users. So Casval is an high-interest savings account on the Ethereum blockchain. Basically, we provide the highest yield available on the Ethereum blockchain. We also include an on-ramp solution, meaning that the end user just sends a wire transfer, standard wire transfer, or a credit card payment to deposit his funds. There's no locking, so the funds are always available. You can deposit and withdraw anytime. It is continuously optimized, so it doesn't just select the best available option when you deposit the funds, but every day moves the funds to the highest yielding opportunities on the blockchain. Is non-custodial, and again, we integrated an hedging solution to overcome the Euro-USD volatility. But how does it work from a very high level? So the user sends his funds, wire transfer or credit card. The user just uses a mobile app. The funds are automatically converted to USD stablecoins. These are the only stablecoins available, basically. There's an hedging solution that manages the funds, the hedging of the funds deployed, and the funds are then moved to the highest yielding lending opportunity on the blockchain. Why now? This is the proverbial perfect storm. The number of addresses in the decentralized finance is growing, and the inflow of new money is growing as well. And these are, of course, signals of the moment. This is money coming from the centralized finance. We are addressing a market that is expected to grow to 285 billion of euros in Europe only, in terms of asset under management by 2025. We have a quite standard business model because we charge an yearly maintenance fee and a performance fee. We also plan to launch our governance token, but later on. In terms of our competitors, we identified competitors in both traditional centralized finance and in the decentralized finance. In traditional finance, you have standard savings accounts, even banks or robo-advisors, okay? They usually generate very low yield, and the user experience is not always optimal. In terms of competitors in the decentralized finance, you have protocols such as Yearn Finance or Idle Finance that provide highest yield. But again, you need crypto skills to use those. And we are not addressing people already in crypto. We are addressing the much larger market of people that are not yet in crypto. In the last few months, we also saw centralized players in the decentralized finance, such as Coinbase, so exchanges, or Nexo, it's a very large fintech company, that started providing similar products. This is very interesting. It's a validation of our vision. But to them, these products are just an addition of a very crowded offering, and also, most important, they do not provide any protection on the euro-USD volatility, as we do. So where we are now, we are live with our solution. Our mobile application is available on the mobile stores for whitelisted users. So I encourage you to go to our website and request our mobile app. So we have real users that deposited real money and that are earning real interest right now. What we get so far? So we were selected in the top 10 companies in the Block.IS batch 2. We also won a grant, actually in the very first batch of the Compound grant program. Compound is one of the largest money protocol on the Ethereum blockchain, and they have a total value locked of $10 billion, so they quite large. We have our mobile application available on the mobile stores, and we have deployed on the Polygon level 2 blockchain on Ethereum our entire end-to-end solution. Our secret sauce is made of several components. I'd like to stress once again the euro-USD hedging, but also our approach to target non-crypto savvy users. So that's exactly what we want to do. We want to bring new people that maybe heard about crypto that are not satisfied of their 0.1% annual returns into crypto. Our team is pan-European, is distributed between London, Barcelona, and Milan. Part of the team had an experience in Consensus, but one of the largest and most important companies in the Ethereum space. Or we worked together in other ventures. We have an aggregate exit of around an eight-figure amount. We have a very multidisciplinary approach. So background in finance, of course, design, blockchain, and many other things. Final slide. As for our experience in the Block.IS program and with FTS, we were lucky enough to have both Matteo and Francesca as our mentors, and they were very helpful to us in terms of networking, in terms of feedback, and also they also played the guinea pig for our very early alpha release. And you know, Matteo, you never understand if he plays a role or if he's just like that, but playing this role really gave us a very important insight, so we thank you them very much. Thank you again, and once again, I encourage you to go to our website, casval.finance, to reserve your spot and ask for the access to our mobile app. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I'm actually curious about the questions here because, you know, we've been coaching the pitch and the presentation. If I put my coach hat, I'll have a couple of comments and feedbacks, but I'll let the crowd talk. Where's the mic now? Thank you. Okay.
We have to move. First of all, internal. You have to participate to.
Yes, we are already booked to that.
Because we have an interesting relationship, Nana, right now.
I don't want to know.
And since the very beginning of the very first speech, I think you began to explore as a first mover an entire new era of applications that are going to make extremely more easy the access to this stuff, because the nerd part that you need right now is too much for the general purpose, for the people that we serve as a bank. Which are the programs that you have to stay on the edge? Because many others are arriving.
Wow. Yes, it's true. Our vision has always been, since the beginning, to focus on the non-crypto people. Because nowadays you have, several very high-level tech companies fighting for users that are already in the crypto space. When we went to Compound, the money protocol I mentioned earlier, and say to them, okay, but our vision is we want to bring new people to your protocols, and they just said, okay, yes, you won the grant, because to them that was the key to success. Back to our question, we know we need to focus on the UX more than on the smart contracts. Of course, we take for granted the smart contract. We will need to go, through the audit and all this stuff. But to us, the UX will be paramount. And also, we already started to have some kind of peculiar problems, because when you go out and say, okay, with our solution, you can get 5% annual returns, capital risk-free, or 10%. And of course, the feedback is always, it's a scam. So we started working and creating a lot of educational material to explain how and why you can get this kind of returns, capital risk-free. So that's one of the thing we need to work on.
Yeah, my question was probably answered by the last statement you made. So I know that if I am investing on the stock market, like an ETF on Nasdaq, probably my return is more than 10% on average, no? So my question was, what should I do, or why should I be convinced in investing in Casval, since I saw that the average rate is of 6%, but you just probably answered by saying that that's risk-free.
That's the point. This is the equivalent of a savings account, like Conto Arancio for Italian people, or the equivalent from Mediolanum. So it's based on Ethereum over-collateralized lending protocols that guarantee your capital. Of course, blockchain is still early, so you still have, the potential issues, even catastrophic issues from a technical perspective that could happen. But from an asset class, this is a capital guaranteed, capital risk-free kind of investment. It's not like an ETF that could go up or down. You can go down here.
And by the way, I wish it was that simple. Oh, if I invest in Nasdaq, I have 5 to 10 per year. Tell me what I have to sign, because it's not that easy, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree. I play sometimes on Nasdaq, and you can lose quite much lately, especially. The question actually is related to previous ones. Again, about the go-to-market strategy. It's totally cool that you are aiming those like non-crypto people and so on. But like you were talking about design, about content, but how will you actually acquire them? How will you actually get their attention? Do you have this part of go-to-market strategy sorted as well?
This is a very good question. Of course, I haven't used the slides of go-to-market in order to stay under the 8 minutes. We have several actions, several plans. I can name a few, but of course we would go in several directions, starting from again the educational material. Again, is still very important because it will create organic traffic to us, because we need to explain how this happens, and not just say, okay, get 10%, you get 10% returns with us. We plan to go the influencer way in terms of fintech. We also need to go on a per country approach, because every country is different. So we also work on that. We are also introducing, working on NFT based on the usage. So a sort of gamification. The more you use the application, the more NFT, the more points and NFT you can get. NFT, it's true that it's something for crypto-savvy users, but it's something that arrived to the mass market, much more than Ethereum. Okay, so it's a good hook for us. So there are really a lot of strategies we are designing and we plan to implement. Last but not least, in our previous venture, we sold our previous venture to the second largest robo-advisor in Europe, so we have a good relationship for them. So maybe down the road we also have distribution agreements with a robo-advisor, maybe a bank.
A last quick one from Robbie.
Yeah, that's quick. Now, usually in crypto world, everybody go Lambo, want to go buy a Lamborghini, right? Is interesting because I saw once a tweet that says it's not a Lambo story, but thanks to DeFi, I managed to make a loan to buy a Prius for my family. And in the moment I thought, look, if my mom could access DeFi and do a loan like this without having to understand how wallet, private key and things work, that would be a real step ahead. So I do believe that I find the things that I find more interesting is becoming a trusted party to bridge from for normal people the access to the crypto world, and I open space to many other kind of services that are not just the fact to invest on whatever methodology of investment you're putting together. So I was thinking if is an option, or is a business model focused only just on the fact that people invest through your system?
Yes, because currently the business model is tied to that, because we have a management fee. So basically, depending on the asset under management of our protocol, we gather more fees.
Chris, bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now it's panel time. So whilst I do the housekeeping, Robbie, you can bring yourself and the chair in the middle. And now I'm going to rest because I'm going to call my friend Alexandru on stage. So you have to sit, Roberto, there. Okay, that's for Robbie. Alessandro Longoni, FinTech District, our next moderator. So I want to call Vincenzo, Robbie, and I forgot who is the third panelist. Stefano, right? And he has to be sitting where? Like this? Perfect? Great. Okay, my job is done. Ale, over to you. You're mic'd up?
I hope so. Can you hear me? Apparently not. No. Okay, now it seems like you're going to be hearing me. Okay, all good. How are you guys? Good morning. Okay. So this is the beginning of a very exciting panel that I'm happy to lead. And my name is Alessandro Longoni. I'm responsible for the FinTech District, which is the largest community of FinTech in Italy. More than 200 companies and several corporates that try to create combination in between activities of open innovation and, for example, industry experts. Okay, so today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about blockchain challenges and opportunities across the tech European scene. And I've got three fantastic industry experts today here with me. Vincenzo, would you like to start introducing yourself, and then over to Stefan and to Roberto. Very briefly, guys, because we've got 40 minutes, and I want to talk about content.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. Vincenzo Nicola, co-founder of Conio, ex-co-CEO. Conio is a leading company in Italy with funding from Poste Italiane, Banca Group, and Banca Generali. And we are proud that we have been among the very first ones in Italy to introduce a cryptocurrency and allow Italian people to buy, sell, and have safe custody of Bitcoin on their wallet here. So all made in Italy.
Congratulations. Stefan.
Can you hear me? Okay, no. I'm Stefan, co-founder of Young Platform, the leader crypto exchange in Italy. Basically, we started 3 years ago, and we permit the user to trade up to 40 different pairs on our platform. And this is basically all.
Okay. Well, and my name is Roberto Capodieci, and I'm devoted to decentralization. So when there is to decentralize through blockchain or other means, I am the person to go to them.
Fantastic. Thank you for this brief introduction, guys. And I'd like to keep the panel as informative and educational as possible. I know you guys are industry experts, but let's try and keep it as simple as we can so that we can be understood by everybody. We'd like to start from the first topic, which is potential benefits and risk of blockchain. Let's start from the fact that new technologies and solutions, such as blockchain, can always bring benefits and opportunities, but also carry some risk. This is normal. In particular, I would like to start concentrating on the difference between permissioned and permissionless solutions, such as, if we simplify, permissioned solutions could have the initial advantage to guarantee an easier implementation for sure, and compliance with requirements such as AML, just to name one, at the cost of reduced potential for developments of these solutions. But given that blockchain was born as permissionless, for obvious reasons, the development of the concept of decentralized finance that you mentioned already, Roberto, has brought up discussion on the need for a trade-off between the benefits coming from the features of blockchain and the need for a guarantee of a safe and secure environment. This is a very complex topic, for sure. However, we're going to start to try and address this with Roberto. And based on your experience, what are the three main opportunities and risks you see for the development of blockchain-based solution? And I'd like you to also cover a little bit the fact if they are industry-specific or not, and if you can rank them a little.
Sure. In fact, the biggest risk of deploying a blockchain solution is not making it really decentralized, right? There are the adoption of blockchain for solutions that are not using the right platform. I would say that there is a long story. I have a keynote in the afternoon that probably explain it better, but using the wrong platform for a use case that is not adapted to it can bring this use case to risk to attacks. It's a legend that the blockchain is unattackable, and it can be well done. I also, even though unpopular sometimes, don't really fancy smart contracts, because the smart contract that is honest is the one that cannot be modified. That's the beauty of the smart contract. Sometimes people use gateways to update the code of a smart contract, but in the case, there is no more the advantage of the trust, the need not to trust, the trustless aspect that the code is not going to be changed. And another big risk that nobody considers is centralized proxy to access a blockchain. Every time we use a wallet, this wallet is going to talk with the central server, and these servers then communicate with the peer-to-peer network of the blockchain. The real decentralized solution is something that talks directly with the peer-to-peer network of the blockchain. So we are using blockchain without really using the aspect the blockchain wants to bring to us, that is being really decentralized. And something interesting because of the last speech that has been done is the fact that compromise user interface. Because when you talk with the network as a peer-to-peer network, you need to use a wallet or a browser extension or a website, and you don't really know what it's really doing. So there are a lot of people. I had a friend that lost money next to me, and without realizing that you go through the wrong user interface, you think you're putting money in a contract, and you actually are donating them to some smart guy from whatever place of the world it is. So these are, to me, the risk, and obviously the advantage. I don't even want to list them because it would take up to tomorrow to finish the list.
Do you want to just list maybe one?
But obviously, the fact that I don't need to trust a third party with what I'm doing on the peer-to-peer network. That's the huge advantage. So nobody's going to block my money. Nobody's going to stop, from saying that something is not what it is or changing the data that are in the blockchain.
And for you, this is true in every industry or just in the financial industry?
It is absolutely in every industry. In fact, to me, blockchain is such a bottom layer that shouldn't make any special support for finance rather than for identities, rather than for many other things that we saw. So that's important, that once the platform is good, it's good for everything. That's the good platform.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roberto. It was a great start. Let's move on to Vincenzo. Vincenzo, in your opinion, is blockchain going to focus on specific use cases in identified and let's call them friendly sectors? Or will it be a solution that could be a game changer solution across sectors and industries, and why?
Okay. So it's a very good question. Let's think about why is blockchain important. Because very often we forget about it. Blockchain is important because it allows to transfer the property of a digital asset from me to another person, from me to you. If I have something digital, I can give it to you, and at the point that digital thing is yours, is no longer mine, and you can give it to somebody else from the audience. I don't know. Mr. over there, and at the point it's not mine, it's not yours. So that's the most important thing that the blockchain does. And blockchain, I know it seems simple, but think about this. If I give you a file, you have a file. I have a copy of the file, you have a copy of the file, he has a copy of the file, everybody has a copy of the same file. In a word of copy and paste, to transfer the property, a digital property, it's the very unique, the most important, compelling thing that the blockchain does. So that's why I really believe that blockchain shines in a pure digital world. When the environment that we're talking about is 100% digital, that's where it shines. So applications could be currencies. Well, we know it, Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies. We can be applied to stocks. Think about this. Why would you have to go to a broker? Like anybody can issue shares, digital tokens of the companies, and allow these tokens, these shares, these stocks to be traded worldwide. Technologically speaking, it's very easy to do. Other applications, and something that I really love, and I really strongly believe at a certain point in time is going to happen, is digital voting. I know there are people with, there are like factions against the pro, but technologically speaking, something that's going to happen, and through blockchain, it will happen. Other topics are, for example, digital assets on video games. So wherever there is a 100% digital environment, that's where blockchain can be applied to. I'm a little bit skeptical on environments where physicality is involved. I'll give you an example. If I take a train, easy, from Rome to Milan, like the express, in Italian it's called Frecciarossa, have you ever noticed that, well, let me put it this way. Let's say that we have a smart contract that tells you if the train is late, you get a refund. Cool. The smart contract works. Perfectly speaking, works. If you're late, the company is going to give you a refund on the ticket. But think about this. Have you ever noticed that when the train is late, like let's say 35 minutes, they claim it's late 29 minutes? Why? Because if in Italy, if the train is later than 30 minutes, then they're going to issue a refund. So the reason why I'm telling you this is this. Yeah, the smart contract can work perfectly. But if the source of truth it's fake, it's wrong, then the smart contract, is going to take wrong things downstream, and the results is going to be fake as well. So that's why I don't like blockchain applied to the physical world, because it's subject to this sort of fakeness, this sort of wrongdoing.
Thanks, Vincenzo. I think that you touched upon very interesting points. We could be talking a lot also about tokenization, which is something that we're not going to be talking about. But we see this as a very important connection to the wealth management in the future and tokenized property. There's a lot that we could be talking about. Some things that are not happening today yet can be happening tomorrow.
It will.
Exactly. And of course, as in everything that we do not know, there's a great part in education. And for this reason, I'd like to ask you, Stefan, do you see a role for education and training in the prevention and or the mitigation of the risk and the opportunities of blockchain?
Yeah, from my experience, the education is fundamental. Just leaving aside for a moment the education for or researching for and by institution and focusing on the end user that at the moment is the audience most affected by the market. The problem that the education can solve basically are two. The first one is the knowledge of the basic notion of the blockchain and the technology. This because there are a lot of concepts that are very different respect to the traditional finance market, like, for example, swap asset or simply the key safe word of the wallet. And on this topic, the user need to understand properly how to manage these kind of aspects. Moreover, every day the user is tempted by different blockchain solution, different token, and this obviously is a discussion that I want to approach because my bias obviously it's on the speculative market, that it's the most, I guess, real use case at the moment for the market. And on that topic, the user absolutely need to understand that before putting money in any kind of project, need to understand the technology beside this project. Practically, the user need to do a due diligence, like, for example, VC funds of the project where they're putting the money. And this is the first problem. The second problem is strictly connected because is the usability of the technology. There are a lot of different actions that are very different from the traditional market. So, for example, taking the banking sector, where basically to access your asset, you just need to insert a password that identifies you and maybe a two-factor authenticator. On the blockchain side and on the blockchain-related technologies, there are different aspects to be carried out. For example, as said before, the key safeguard of the wallet, that practically, when you lose that, you are losing all the money. And the user sometimes don't understand all these concepts properly. And the mission or all the projects that are burning during this new phase of market are not trying to educate the user on this topic. For this reason, I think that in the future, we will see a new model, for example, derivating from the gaming sector we have seen in a bubble right now. Maybe that will incentivize the user, rewarding with maybe some token or with some premium content about all the mechanism behind the blockchain technologies.
Thank you, Stefan. I think you touched upon some very interesting points, and I'd like to take out one main thing. There's an issue in Italy, especially with financial education, and it's not just connected to blockchain, right? So if we've got a problem in assessing if a stock is good or not to be picked, and that's a business that should be known everywhere, how can somebody who doesn't have that experience be good enough to understand what is a good project, right?
Yeah.
So it then becomes, to me, at least in my perspective, something that is for people who have a very deep knowledge. And I believe that the future should be addressing these issues in a way that is understandable for the larger public, because as of today, many people who claim that understand the projects, they don't, and they just put some money in there. And then this brings generally to another issue, which is regulation, okay? It's not an issue, but when a market is unregulated, these things are happening. And therefore, the regulator is stepping in to try and protect the users. We may think that this is not really protections, but that is where they start from, correct? And this is leading us to the second topic of this panel. How is Europe getting ready for blockchain? No matter if we like it or not, as I mentioned, regulation will necessarily step in to mitigate the risk of blockchain-based solutions in Europe. And if we want to witness the development of blockchain solutions in the financial sector, I believe personally that this is a necessary evil, okay? And these rules already are discussed. We probably, as a panelist and moderators, are aware of MiCA and DORA, the regulations at the European level. And this basically could mean that some of the things and the solutions that we have today could be compliant today, but potentially non-compliant tomorrow. This creates a large situation of confusion, potential confusion for everybody, because you start investing money, time in developing and doing something that then all of a sudden is not compliant anymore. Roberto, I'm getting to you. I know that you have a large experience in Asia. So I would like you to give an answer from this perspective to this second question. We know that Europe is lagging behind vis-a-vis compared to China and compared to the US for investment, research, and opportunities for all market actors. For example, in China, the Bank of China is testing possibility to issue digital yuan by leveraging...
Already done.
Already done, right? And we're going to talk about this in a second. Based on DLT-based solutions. The European Central Bank is also analyzing different technologies for a central digital euro. And the work, of course, is at its infancy in Europe. That has not happened yet. What would you recommend the European regulator to take inspiration from?
Surely Singapore is one of the places that lead these innovations, and the Central Bank of Singapore, MS, has opened a sandbox with APIs for people to create services connected to their system. I think they converted a few amount of actual Singapore dollar, a few millions, 50, something like that, to become cryptographically fungible in their own system. It's obvious that no country in the world, I think, will ever create a permissionless blockchain where their currency is going to run without the possibility to control it. If that happened, really, I never understood anything about how finance works in the world. But surely it's very interesting and important, and what I saw in Singapore is that they really are cutting off the banks. So anybody can go and create whatever application. There is automatically, there is no regulation. They approach the things like let people do and then see what is to be regulated and how. But pretty much the regulation comes from the control that they have of the crypto that they generate. So anybody can create a small website that acts as a bank or do whatever other things using the API from the central bank. It is an interesting experiment, and I think the work of regulators is always something that, as you say, need to protect the consumer. But protecting consumer means that today you need to send a fax to the bank because that's what legally valid and other means are not accepted. This is in Singapore itself, and no even in Europe. I saw that the European community is doing a lot of projects outside the financial sector for blockchain, and is pushing, like we heard before, diplomas and identities and other things. And I think that this is the best route to avoid to conflict with very complex regulatory requirements when creating the centralized project. Then easily later can follow what it comes to, you know, more complex topics that are like finance, money, you know, and whatever else.
So would it be all right to summarize your position as if you recommend, based on the experience that you have in Asia, to deregulate this, see what is happening, and then start concentrating on it only once it becomes as big enough as it might be an issue?
That's exactly what they do there. Exactly. So, and it works, I guess. But exactly as you say, how much somebody would invest on something to know that later they're gonna be cut off the possibility to, you know, work. So is something that goes on two sides, but they do support, so they are very open. I went to speak with the top management of the central bank. I am very good friend with the one that take care of fintech. Mohanty is a very cool guy.
Do they have a real center of competence there? So you talk to people who understand the technology.
Yeah, they invest money on startups directly from the central banks. They really want to understand and you know, walk hand to hand with you know, innovation to then understand what to do.
No.
Like in Italy.
Same.
Oh, hopefully we're gonna get there in Italy too. But I mean, a nice story. Because you mentioned the fax. Whenever I talk to any company that is asking me for a fax, I generally answer, sorry, I can't send you a fax from where I am today. And generally the question is, okay, where are you? I mean, I'm in 2021. And that's the kind of thing that I always mention.
I have a very short but very interesting story. I went to the bank in Singapore to open a bank account. So the lady pulled out this PDF on her computer, prints it, and start filling it by hand. Okay, and my family name is Capodieci. My email address is roberto@capodieci.com. And because it is a manually filled form that was printed, is sent to some place where they do data entry. Per privacy, they cut it in chunks so nobody can read the full form when they do data entry. My email became roberto@C2, number 2, Podieci, because the A of this lady. And so I couldn't receive the email to activate my bank account later. I called the bank telling me to download a PDF, another 7-page, fill it by hand, and send it by fax to them. So I went and registered the domain name at c2podieci.com, and I managed to activate my account. And now all the information on the bank from the bank account comes to this alternative domain name.
But you see, this to me exactly means two things. From the bank side, they're not ready, and you are an expert, because not everybody else would have done this, which you've done today,
no,
right?
Yeah, but to say that regulators are the guilty party behind this problem with the bank, because the bank wanted hand-filled, the regulators wanted hand-filled, they cannot be filled through the form, and the regulators want the fax. The bank would go behind this.
I guess that Rome wasn't built in a day, so unfortunately we gotta live with that. Thank you very much. Vincenzo, let's move back for a second to regulation in Europe. What would be, in your view, the best strategy for Europe regarding blockchain? Is the unique shape of Europe that sometimes is mentioned as fragmented a value or a limitation for the development of blockchain solutions?
Okay. I have a philosophy, and I don't speak French, so sorry if I say it incorrectly, that I like. It's laissez-faire. So let it ride, leave companies alone. So it's a philosophy that says when the government is involved in something, especially if they have no clue about or very little knowledge, it's going to be detrimental. And I feel this is happening in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, where European regulators, European politicians are often from low background, have no clue about technology, have no clue about engineering, but they do want to regulate, even if they have no clue what they're talking about. This is very terrible. It's very dangerous, and it's very detrimental for the economy, for the companies that are in Europe, and it risks suffocating everything here. And this is one of the reasons why in Europe you don't see many huge startups in the cryptocurrency space, where you see them in the United States, and you see them in China, and you see them in the UK, which is no longer European Union now. there is probably it's the root cause of the evil. So that's my point of view. Europe could grow, could become a power if this cultural mindset changes. So, and it's not going to be easy. If we become a little bit more like Singapore, like Roberto said, well, this is going to be a totally different story. I'm very skeptical that's going to happen in the short and medium term. I mean, I'm very skeptical because I keep hearing about other things like you talked about the digital yuan, the cryptocurrency, the national currency that China has created. Well, Europe, instead of creating, they're talking about it. It's wonderful. Here, people talk. I mean, they talk a lot. People love to talk in Europe. In Italy, a lot. In Europe, even more. And the thing, while other countries, they do. In China, they've done. In the United States, well, they leave it to the private enterprise, private companies to do the work. Well, here, people keep talking. We are planning. We're going to do a POC. We're doing something in 5 years. And nothing happens. And when it's too late, they try to run after what others have done. And you know what? That scares the hell out of me because let's talk about the China digital currency, the digital yuan. Well, they've done their job. It's going to work, I'm pretty sure. It's going to become popular. I mean, it could become very popular. But there is a problem. That's a currency that is controlled by the state, by China. Well, I mean, for a country like China, which is at the end of the day, it's a dictatorship, it's like an erotic dream to control all the money of their citizens. It's wonderful. I mean, for them, it's a dream come true. And what scares the out of me is this, that Europe, Central Bank of Europe, is thinking about the same exact thing. Well, I mean, and really seriously, that freaks me out because, I mean, unless I'm proved contrary, we are still a democracy. And to think about a central bank in Europe that's thinking about to do the same type of controls on citizens that China is doing, well, that's very dangerous. And we might not be realizing, we are still in the early stage and we're still not realizing it, but we should be very, very careful on this.
I understand your point of view. I have a slightly different view on this because I believe that the way that Europe is looking at central bank digital currency is to go directly to citizens. The way that I try, when I studied a bit about this, the way that I try to explain it is we've got email, which is kind of money, and we've got PEC, that is the certified email. And in my point of view, the way that Europe is looking at CBDC is like certified money coming from Europe in the sense of I can help you kickstart this project, I can help you because you lost your job. But of course, it can be very different in the future, but at least we're still talking about it. Well, so we might be changing.
Well, right now Europe is just talking, not doing anything.
I got it.
And as soon as China is going to become popular with their currency, I mean, again, that's my forecast. Europe is going to do a copy and paste of what China is doing. And if that happens, well, I mean, it's going to be very, very dangerous. But let this alone because we're still talking about theory. Something that Europe could do is, first and foremost, I mean, at the very least, if we talk about something easy things, do not tax cryptocurrency gains. And smart countries in Europe, like Portugal, have understood it. So, because it's very complex, at that point, you know, you might as well not do anything, just ignore it, do not tax, and let people trade, become rich. Because, I mean, there is no problem in becoming rich. I mean, I don't understand why it's seen otherwise in many countries. And also, if you let people trade cryptocurrency and become rich, well, they're going to buy more. I mean, you create richness in the country. They're going to buy goods. Like the sales tax, I mean, the income for the country is going to increase a lot, tremendously. People don't see, I mean, politicians, they only see like tax on capital gains. They don't see the whole picture.
Let me play devil's advocate here, because of course, this is a panel of crypto enthusiasts, okay? And we also need to take a step back and consider the risk that we were mentioning at the beginning. So, for example, I'm not sure how many people could have could be so cool-headed as back in 2018 when Bitcoin was 15K, and then all of a sudden it dropped down to 3K, and you could see like less than 5 times what you invested at that time, and then after 3 years, now we know the story. But how many people could deal with that? So I think that Europe at this stage is trying just to be very careful in understanding, and I guess why this panel is completely from a different point of view, but I believe that the regulator is today doing their job. We might disagree, but I think that in Europe, this is the kind of approach that we're taking.
I see your point. I strongly disagree, because we're adults, we know what we want to do with our money. It's my money, and I want to do that. I mean, why do you stop me from doing it?
Because you are part of the 3% of the population who understands what it's doing.
Well, I mean, I can tell you this. My mom, the postal service, 10 years ago, they offered her a very special, a great deal, a bond from Monte dei Paschi di Siena. It was a safe bond, you know what, my dear lady, it's a bond from Monte dei Paschi. It's sure, it's 2.2%, great. It was a junk bond, which no problem, and it was presented like a wonderful opportunity. Bank of Italy didn't say anything, Consul didn't say anything, and you know what happened to the bank. So why do you regulate, you try to like bust the balls on companies that they're doing a good job, while they don't do your job on classic banks?
Exactly to avoid that. Exactly to avoid to propose bonds that are junk bonds.
But, which they've done.
To propose crypto that are junk.
But they've done. Bank of Italy has not done their job on normal banks.
I feel like I'm losing a little bit the thread of here. So
Okay.
I think this is a great kind of conversation that we could be having then on the side, maybe with a drink. And I'm impressed by the excitement that we're getting on the panel. But let's take a step back for a second and let's move on to Stefan, because our time is limited. What are the initiatives that you see getting in the right direction? Because we have understood from Vincenzo what is wrong, but I'd like to concentrate on what is right. Hopefully there is still one thing that is right.
Yeah, surely the MICAR, it's a good point of view of the Europe.
What is the MICAR for everybody?
Oh, yeah, it's the European framework for DLT technologies and crypto asset, and this surely is the correct path to run to regulate this market. But in the past, surely there was a missing link. There was a common vision shared by the European countries, and this helped the so-called white zone to insert new regulation about cryptocurrency and give the opportunity to innovative company to operate regularly all around Europe, penalizing all the other countries and damaging in some way the finance of this country, because obviously if you want to had a company operating in the blockchain sector, you had to go, for example, to Malta, to Estonia, or Switzerland in order to be compliant. The MICAR born to resolve this problem, and surely, at least from the draft they have shared with the companies and with the market, they are doing a pretty good job. But there is still a big problem that they don't trying to solve, that is the timing of this regulation, because this regulation must be released by 2024, and who already invest in the market, I guess know that 1 day in crypto is something like 1 month in the traditional market finance. So releasing a regulation by 2024 that try to regulate a technology that born in 2010, it's quite late for the entire environment, not just the crypto environment, but also for the financial environment, because as you touched before, there are companies, countries like China, but also federations like the United States that are moving very, very fast on this topic, and they are trying to solve not just the beginning of the technology, so for example, the categorization of the assets, or how a company have to manage this kind of asset, but are trying also to look at the future to more complex protocols like all the decentralized finance world that was born 2 years ago. And this, in the MICAR, it's something that we haven't tried to solve 100%.
Thank you, Stefan. I think it was a great way of saying that in the end, having a regulatory framework could help in developing a little, which is, can be debated, because of course I've seen that there are different point of views on the panel, but at least creates that basis of certainty under which you can start operate and then develop a little bit the industry, because you know you're not going to be regulated then tomorrow again. Great. Let's move on the third topic, which is something that is a little bit more vertical. So we're going to talk about your experience with the technology and the key trends on the market. We talked a lot about blockchain applied to financial services as of now. However, the technology, as we already mentioned at the beginning, has the potential to be used in different sectors and serve specific purposes. It could contribute to the development of new business models, new opportunities. We already talked about the fact that at a European level, some initiatives that are European-wide are missing for reasons that span from a lack of investment to a lack of a clear regulatory environment. This is what we said so far. From my perspective, and I'm going to be hearing you in a second, blockchain should not be considered and perceived as a solution in search for a problem, but as an enabler of new solutions. But what are these solutions? So we need to talk about these solutions. Roberto, you shared some risks that are typical of blockchain solutions during this panel. What are the mitigations tools that we could put in practice? Are they typical of your sector, or could they be reapplied to all industries?
Okay, well, first of all, blockchain is a technology, it's like a database, right? So yeah. I can use a database to have a GDAist forum to plan attacks. I can have a database to manage the money in the bank. And so the technology per se has no opinion, is just running on computer and that's what it has to do. So it shouldn't be regulated to start with. The effect should be regulated and looked at. The problem is this technology is quite complex. The aspect of how decentralization works are complex, even for technical people and developers, very good developers that it takes them 6 months, 1 year to click in their brain and understand how a system that is decentralized work. And on the bottom of this technology, there are security systems or mechanics to work that are not good for everything, right? I made a lot of money implementing solutions for ICO that collected millions and never being able to implement what they were promising to. So while labeling the work behind, we actually created, and I did a lot of very interesting things. I also did work with Banca. We made the first international remittance in multiple currency between Singapore and Malaysia. I did a lot of very cool projects. But the technology that was used, if analyzed very well, was not good. That's why I spent the last 3 years implementing a new platform for decentralization that doesn't rely on values for security compared to all those that are outside. So the correct choice and the risk is more deep than just the fact that is outside. And nobody will ever attack something that doesn't make sense to attack. It doesn't have the reason and the value or the investment of time to attack. But when there is, it's always too late, right? when people already build the value and they are prone to be attacked, it's too late. So there's something that there is more culture, not only for the public to understand, but also for the people in the industry to understand what they're doing.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We've got 5 minutes, so just 2 questions, one to Vincenzo and one Stefan. Vincenzo, let's move on to the solutions. What is the most interesting trend you're monitoring or analyzing so far on blockchain?
Well, there are millions, a gazillion of trends that are very interesting. I mean, like, just to give you some example, I would love if Ethereum moves to proof of stake. I'm looking at the proof of history consensus by Solana. Let's look at how Algorand claims to have solved the trilemma. I mean, there are millions of topics. I mean, if I were a computer scientist, a student in university as today, I would jump into this space because it's a green field. You can create and you can bring your contribution and make a real impact.
But today you are a panelist, and I want you to select one for the people here.
Well, I mean, like, as a co-founder of Conio, and since I build technology, I mean, I would say custody of digital asset is a very important topic. Again, I'm partial from my point of view, but I really believe it's super important because, and here I quote a very famous philosopher, Uncle Ben from Spider-Man. He said, with great power comes great responsibility. So when you talk about custody, when people, I mean, Bitcoin starts with the mantra, be your own bank. And great, wonderful, you have money here in your smartphone or in a hardware wallet. But what happens if you lose it? What happens, as Stefan said, you lose the key? Well, that's a major problem. And not many people are very familiar with technology, and when it happens, and I saw people that lost their keys, and I saw a person that lost 30 million euros worth of Bitcoin, well, it's quite ugly. So yes. I really do believe that cryptocurrency, digital assets custody is going to be very prominent in the coming years, especially if these assets are going to be traded every day, like is happening.
And I 100% agree, because people should not be left completely alone in managing this, because these things can happen like on a day-to-day basis if you're not tech savvy. Okay, Stefan, let's move on to the last question, and I beg you to answer in 2 minutes, please, because already making me science. Is there something that really surprised you in your experience with blockchain from a technological perspective when you approached the topic?
Well, I usually like to say that I was born within the blockchain, because I've opened my first wallet before opening a bank account. I discovered Bitcoin at 12 and bought my first Bitcoin at 15. So I like to say that I was born there, and I don't take care a lot of the ownership of the asset, because for me it's something that it's need to be like the wallet managing that blockchain take to the market. But what excited me so much of the technology on a first point of view was the efficiency of the protocol, because obviously you can transfer all around the world large amount of money without spending like a normal commission of a bank. I've experienced it with bank where to transfer, for example, 1.5 million, you have to pay something like $7,000, and it's crazy because with not complex technology that can be Bitcoin or Ethereum, but just with a stable coin pegged to the USD dollar, or with protocol like Ripple that are trying to give a better solution to sell money all around Europe, you will just pay something like 30 cents up to $10 maximum. And this, I think, is the most valuable thing, not just for the end user, but for the industry and obviously for the institution that are working every day with settlement of large amount of money.
Thank you, Stefan. I'm going to just take one last minute before I give back the microphone to Matteo to say that to me this was a very exciting panel. I hope that you guys in the audience enjoyed this. There was a lot of content. We couldn't deep dive in everything, but I believe that also there are several topics that we could be sharing again. So I hope that we will have the chance to sit down together again and maybe discuss some of these topics and get maybe into the more controversial ones in the future, also on a drink, as I mentioned. And to finish on a high note, I probably learned on this panel why Matteo decided to move to Portugal, right? Thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Thank you, Ale. And Vincenzo goes back before anything burns. you have something for you at the end with Francesca, okay? Thank you. Ciao, Ale. You're leaving? Okay, guys. Am I mic'd up? I am? Great. Roberto, no? Roberto, you stay here. Now is a you and me moment. Bring the candle. No, sit. I'm coming. Okay, guys. Roberto and I are the chat that is, how do you say it, separating you from lunch, okay? So be indulgent. Let's make it quick and easy. This is Exactly. So this is about books, okay? So, wait, stay here. Don't move. So, I don't bring the PC version of it. I bring the simple one, like this one, okay, and this one. So, we said that you could not live without a gift. So selfishly, we decided that we could give you our books to start with, because it is part of our own story. And Roberto has a much more interesting one than mine. And he actually talks about something that is super close to the theme of the whole program. So, Robbie, what's in this book? I mean, can anyone read it, or is it just for the few sort of top crypto fan?
First of all, they need to know English, because it's written in English. So not yet translated in other languages. That's the first key. This book wanted to innovate in many levels. So it talks about innovation on blockchain technology, but it's also very interesting because there are a lot of nice pictures inside, but there are many QR codes. So each QR codes give access to live commentary, a place where people can discuss about what is written there. So it's very interactive.
No, you take mine.
You don't have QR codes in your book.
No, I don't have QR. No, you keep talking about your book, and I'm showing yours. Sure. Go ahead.
No, it's a little bit technical, but it's written in a way that my mom understood what is written there, which is good, and she doesn't even speak English. Can you imagine? And the technology needs to advance. That's my point. I forgot to put my nice picture on the front. I should have put that. But I wrote this with another guy, a very intelligent guy. And it talks about the bottom layer of blockchain. So where is something that is far away from the users. People don't see that, but how the mechanics of blockchain work, what is needed to go ahead to have blockchain that are faster, easier to use, support many things besides cryptocurrencies, and is a needed step. Not many people work on that. Started cloning Bitcoin and cloning, making small changes, starting a few other new things, but very linked to the original concept. Because blockchain is such a large terms. It doesn't define precisely one thing. Even Corda is a blockchain, right? So inside is there is the space to innovate. There is the need of developers to jump in and help on this bottom layer, on the lower grounds level of blockchain. So this book is about that, and the work that I did in the past 3 years implementing new technology.
So I want to say a couple of things on what Roberto just said. The first one is that I am a personal witness of the fact that he was in this world at least 7-8 years ago, because Roberto and I met on a Startup Bootcamp Singapore cohort. The Startup Bootcamp, as an investor, as a VC, was my first investment. We were the cornerstone investor. We put $1 million in Startup Bootcamp FinTech. No, not in New York. In Startup Bootcamp FinTech. And a couple of people here were also mentor of the program. So I went to Singapore, and Roberto was pitching a blockchain app for notarization of transaction back then. We are talking 2013. And he was talking like, everyone in the room would know what he was talking about, right? And I was supposed to coach his speech and say, Robbie, Jesus, you're Italian, you're amazing, but I mean, come on, you're talking Arabic for most of the guys here. And so since then, a lot of progress, as you can see.
No, because nobody understood what I said before. But still.
No, and the transition maybe to I know you even read the book, at least a part of it, a couple of paragraphs, right?
I did.
So the transition of the book I wrote is called Talents and Rebels, Dealing with Corporate Misfits, is the fact that most of the stuff that are in this book are not about incremental innovation, are about disruptive innovation. So things that the industry is not doing just yet, or at least not in a way that is described inside. And in order to do this, you need a very peculiar type of talent that I call a misfit. So someone who cannot really work in a corporation, or for a corporation to deal with this type of talent. I mean, Roberto is a self-learning autodidacta. How do you say it in English, autodidacta?
Self-learned, yes. Self-learned.
A self-learned, exactly. So he's a self-learning guy that knows about blockchain. Demetrio, you can nod it. You know, exactly. He's a guru in the field. And you know, yesterday we had an interesting conversation about the fact that his kids were jumping from a school in Bali, from Italy, and you know, potentially other part of the world. Say, Jesus, you know, how do they deal with doing this school? You know, 3 months in a different place. And he says, you know, school for me, you know, was very improvised. And if they are eager to learn, it doesn't matter where they go and how long they go, right? So I'm paraphrasing.
You know, well, the Italian school system, when I was a kid, wasn't really the best. And for somebody that was a bit more, as you know, as a 6 years old, I had the brain of a 15 years old, and it remained the same since. School is a torture. Is really a punishment. There was nothing worse than going to school to me. If I could use the time on my own, I could have done much better. And that's what I did actually. I had my computer under the table, and I was doing coding when I was 8. I thought that for my kid is the same. The difference that when I was a little kid. Either you have somebody in your family that knows something, or you have an encyclopedia, or you need to ask to a teacher. So there was the need to bring people in a place where somebody tell them something. Today, there is YouTube, there is Wikipedia, there is all the means to access knowledge. What is important is to know how to learn. Schools need to change completely the way they work. And in many other countries, they do. I don't know in Italy how it is now. I hope it's better, but... yes, for sure it's better from when I was a kid. But the point is that people like me, as Matteo says, hardly fit in a large corporation with all the inside politics and things. But it will give a huge value to this corporation. So it's very important to know how to deal with somebody like me. I look at Elon Musk, for example, that is out of his brain, but is achieving incredible things. I'm not comparing me to him at all, but how would I fit him as an employee inside a large corporation? Probably he wouldn't have survived 1 month. So it's very important to recognize the talents and deal and work with them properly, right? So.
Indeed, and the idea here is absolutely not to glorify at all the rebels or saying that they are like superheroes or any type of talent that has to be put on a different level at all. But just that this type of talent is not considered as such. They are mostly considered as a problem to solve or someone to be tolerated in a large companies, right? And the idea is that, which is the thesis of the book a little bit, that I wrote in English as well, and someone else translated in Italian, which is my mother tongue, by the way, is the fact that if you manage to combine this type of unconventional talents with the most conventional part, not conventional, like rooted in the corporation, part of talent, you can achieve great things. And the story that sort of sparkled this is basically my own story. I was working for Swift, and we built up something called InnoTribe inside Swift that is considered a pioneer of the pioneers of the fintech space. So pioneer that we created the first challenge, and the winner was TransferWise, and then Revolut, and then plenty of others. And 5 years later, we created that. Nobody from that team was still working at Swift. We went all out. And so I started thinking maybe there is a pattern for this type of people to stay or go. And I go search for this rebel, and I interviewed like a 20-odd type of this talent in the... Chris, ti sentiamo da qua. Scusa, ma adesso finiamo.
A rebel.
Sorry? Exactly. So I was practically done. So long story short, these books are for you. There are enough talents and rebels for everyone.
Yeah, and there is a story about my book. I live in Bali, Indonesia, where I have a storage of all the books, and I ship them from Bali, Indonesia, and then they got stuck in China. And I think one of the two boxes broken, for what I understood. And until yesterday, we knew they arrived in the night in Milan. I paid the import fee, and they should be arriving here any moment.
They are in Linate this morning. They were in Linate. So there are a few copies here. There is also a soft copy that can be delivered.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's see by the end of the day if we can get
has a book, exactly.
if everyone has a book. So now it's time for lunch. You can grab a copy here, whenever at your convenience. And I would say we're going to be back around 2:15 or something like 2:15, 2:30. We were supposed to do 3, right? But let's start a little bit earlier if we can, unless you want to stay eating as much as we did last night, which I don't think so. So thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this first half of the day.